Hi kids! Today I'm showing long videos created with LTX-2.3, and by long I mean 40 seconds. I have a talking figure, avatar, influencer, and I wanted to see how much dialogue I can generate in a single take and accurately follow the prompt. I've already made a few videos with a talking host, or at least an animated intro. I wanted to find an upper limit at a usable render quality. I also wanted to see what the budget would be, both render time on my M2 Ultra and rendered on the cloud server with DrawThings Plus. Well, let me show the clips and then I'll come back to discuss. First, this is DrawThings, the image and video generator for Mac, iPad, and iOS. It's free on the app stores, and the video model I'm showing is also free. I'm comparing local render times on my Mac M2 Ultra against the optional paid subscription called DrawThings Plus and the additional expense of pay-as-you-go boost credit. I'm showing 4 clips, starting with the smallest resolution. Most of the settings will stay the same, I'm just increasing the size. Each clip is long, 40 seconds, plenty of time to slow down and look at the motion and lip sync. These should not be considered benchmarks. They could easily be rendered faster by shaving off some steps, but I made choices for quality and reliability, not speed.
I have some news about the DrawThings Plus subscription. It's now possible to subscribe through your Google login, with monthly billing handled through Stripe. This is the same subscription to the cloud render servers, previously only available through Apple ID and billed through the App Store. For each option, you'll need to download the DrawThings app to validate the sign-in. For Apple ID, you must download through the App Store. For Google ID, download the latest release from DrawThings.ai.
I have some news about the DrawThings Plus subscription. It's now possible to subscribe through your Google login with monthly billing handled through Stripe. This is the same subscription to the cloud render servers, previously only available through Apple ID and billed through the App Store. For each option, you'll need to download the DrawThings app to validate the sign-in. For Apple ID, you must download through the App Store. For Google ID, download the latest release from DrawThings.ai.
I have some news about the DrawThings Plus subscription. It's now possible to subscribe through your Google login, with monthly billing handled through Stripe. This is the same subscription to the cloud render servers, previously only available through Apple ID, and billed through the App Store. For each option, you'll need to download the DrawThings app to validate the sign-in. For Apple ID, you must download through the App Store. For Google ID, download the latest release from DrawThings.ai.
It's now possible to subscribe through your Google login with monthly billing handled through Stripe. This is the same subscription to the cloud render servers, previously only available through Apple ID and billed through the App Store.
I wasn't able to get the full 40 seconds at this large size. It seems as the video approaches full resolution video, it can only create shorter and shorter clips. I think it officially supports 10 seconds at 720p. So imagine an inverse slope where we can render smaller and longer, or bigger and shorter. The smallest clip could probably go even longer, maybe a full minute, but it does start to fall apart. The audio loses sync, and the video eventually turns to fuzz. The clip will lose the plot of the prompt too, so there is a ceiling, but it depends on how small of a video you're willing to put up with. The next clip is a jump in quality. The image on the left is stretched 200%, not upscaled, but in my opinion, this is fine. The movement is fluid and small details like the teeth and hair are good enough for an avatar. The voice on this one was also good, but some sad piano music snuck onto the audio track despite using a negative prompt. These lower size renders seem very sensitive to the seed. If you find a good one without sad piano or subtitles and pop-ups, save that seed and use it again. You've got a much better chance at being able to repeat it even after changing the dialogue. The render time is a little more than double on my Mac, but it has crossed the DrawThings Plus compute limit and needs 2 paid boosts to render. That's about 25 cents. The next step doubles the cost to 50 cents, and without a huge jump of render time, at least on the cloud, when it works. More about that in a minute. On my Mac, the videos are now taking around 50 minutes to finish. I have plenty of RAM. This is just the speed of my computer, somewhere between 4 and 5 times slower than the cloud servers. At this higher res, I heard less sad piano and saw fewer subtitles. It may be my negative prompts are working better at this scale. The last size doesn't really count because I couldn't hit 40 seconds. I tried to extend the clip with another clip, so double the time and double the cost, just chaining on to the last frame. But in the second clip, she wouldn't speak the words. I tried a couple of times, and I think she lost some of her likeness, so best quality. But I wasn't even able to fake a 40-second clip. It would be better to generate a new clip from the original start frame and probably use the same seed. To wrap up this comparison, my surprise is that such low-res video actually looks okay. The character holds her identity, at least in this portrait view. Collect the seeds that work, because there are many seeds that will flash text overlays and play music. The clean seeds seem to stay clean. The next size up feels like a Goldilocks on my Mac. The render time is not terrible for a video that, to my eye, has great movement and personality. I did get the sad piano on this one, but like the smallest size, if you have a good seed, reuse it. I think this is the size I'm gonna use for a while. As I step to the next size, I want you to notice the render time on my Mac versus the render time with the boost. With each increase in size, my Mac takes significantly longer to render, 10 minutes, then 20 minutes, then 50, and the largest is well over an hour for half the length. But the boost times seem to be going up linearly. 2 more boosts is like another 4 minutes, and 2 more only adds another 4. It's just math, but 4.5 times longer really stacks up. And now, let me list some of the bad things. What you're not seeing is, while I was making these renders, DrawThings Plus rejected a huge number of my jobs. Some renders just would not start. Some would start and then cancel without any warning. I may have hit it on a bad day, but I guess this is the nature of cloud rendering. The service goes down sometimes. But there's no warning or alert, so my instinct is to start adjusting my parameters or try a smaller model. In other words, destroying my project, trying to solve a problem that is not on my end. That's very annoying. The other issue that I feel is a mixed bag is the boost wallet is either switched on or it's switched off. If I forget to switch off the wallet, my normal quality renders could burn through my boost money. It's not a configuration parameter, so I can't script it. Server and login are completely separate from the render project. You'll have to manage it. I feel like I'm supposed to talk about LTX-2.3. So let me summarize what I think I'm seeing. And please add the usual disclaimer that I'm just sharing my results and my opinion. The model works better with more steps. 8 steps is recommended, and that is too low to be reliable, but also I'm rendering clips 4 times longer than recommended. The renders are cleaner, and overall quality is improved at 16 steps. There's a distilled model and a distilled LoRa. I prefer the LoRa because I reduced the weight to around 60%, and the renders look a little softer. I set guidance to 3.0. The distilled model seemed less reliable when I pushed the number of frames past a certain point. In theory, it should render a bit faster with guidance set to 1, but it may not be as capable at making longer clips. For the sampler, I used TCD at 15%, and I left the shift at 600, even when the resolution changed a lot. I have no explanation for these settings, I just share what worked for me. The last thing I need to show is how to set the number of frames. The slider for this parameter stops at 257, just over 10 seconds for LTX. The trick is to use the Settings context menu up at the top of Settings to paste a new config with that parameter edited to 1001. Copy the current LTX config to edit in a text editor. Find the parameter called numFrames and edit the number immediately after it. Paste the config back into the Settings menu. I vibe coded an HTML page with a slider that will copy just the numFrame parameter. I'll put a link in the video description. If you want a tutorial on how to vibe code scripts for DrawThings, let me know in the comments. The last thing to do is export the video on the thumbnail in the History sidebar. Right-click or Option-click on Mac and long tap on iPad to open a small option to delete the clip or export. Under the Export menu, we have the option to save as an image sequence or a video. Since our clip has an audio track, we need to export as video. That's all I have time for today. I hope you had a learn. Please give the video a like if you think others will find it useful, and subscribe to get my next one in your feed. I'll see you next time.